Hey guys, the Ace, and welcome to another episode of Random Things. Now, I know in the last three, I kind of felt like it was a bit more sad and more on the negative end of things, so this time I want to tell something that is actually really positive today. I want to talk about the times that, as a kid, when I showed up on television. Alright, so first things first, I'm not sure if any of the footage of me on television even exists. They were all on like really local television to begin with. It wasn't like any national things, I was like all on a game show 10 years ago or anything. No, it was more of just some local news, and I was on it twice. Once as B-roll footage and once as the main footage, where I did actually talk a little bit, but that was more of like an agreement, like, yeah, and stuff like that. So let's get right to it. Okay, so the first time I was on television, this must have been like, 2011 or so. So, as I said before, my dad worked as a store manager. Well, he worked as a ski shop manager. One day, his company decided to have him on the local news to kind of advertise their store and all the products that they sell. Now, they're not entirely cheap products, but they're good quality products. The company decided, hey, why don't you advertise this and you might be able to get some more customers. So they paid for a little slot on the local news. I don't even know what subsidiary at this point. I don't know where even to start to find it. So I got to see a little behind the scenes at like a news station, with like the weather guy, the news anchors, all that. The one that we went to was like this giant studio where there was cameras everywhere. You had different people, different stations, like the weather station, kind of like the news desk, and a couple other things. That's the only two I remember, because I remember seeing a guy standing next to a green screen. I'm like, how is he pointing any of that out? I thought there was like a map there, because I didn't understand how TV worked yet. But then I saw him looking at the screen, and then the map was keyed in. So I thought, oh, that's really cool. Because I didn't really understand how, I didn't think it was magic or anything. I knew there was some special effects, but I was wondering, how did they, make limbs disappear or have an ever-changing map on the wall without having to physically change it? Because I didn't understand how a green screen worked. But regardless, so when we got to our station, it was like this little like wide open area. It was me and my sibling. We were wearing a bunch of different clothes, like I had a pair of boots on. I had a pair of like the long underwear shirt. Had like some like name tags all over it. Some really wacky design. A pair of snow boots and an unzipped jacket with like a helmet on it. And my sibling was wearing a very similar outfit, but completely different stuff. But we looked kind of similar. And then my dad was just, talking and pitching. He's a really good salesman, so. And at this point, he's been a salesman for, well, like 25, nearly 30 years at this point. So, it was just second nature to him to sell things. And that's what he was exactly doing. And then at some point, they notioned me onto the stage. And then I walked right there onto the camera and kind of just modeled clothes. So even as a kid, I was a fashion model. They zoomed in on the different shirts and clothes I was wearing, and then they did the same thing to my sibling, and we all stood there. We kind of answered questions like, how does it feel? Oh, this is really comfortable. It feels really good, because my dad gave us comfortable clothes, so he'd know that we wouldn't say, oh, it's uncomfortable, it's not bad, or anything like that. So that way we can go, oh, it actually feels really good. It feels nice and warm. Kind of keep selling in things using a couple kids to sell things. I mean, he did disclose we were his children. But still, having two cute kids model ski clothes would look pretty good for the brand too. And then we all kind of gathered at the stage at the end of it as he did his final remarks, and then we kind of waved off. It was really fun, and it was really cute. Now, I don't have any footage of this. I do not even know where to fucking find it, because I just do not remember any of the subsidiaries. I don't even know which, I remember where the station was. It was in, downtown Cincy, Well, it was a little bit north of downtown, like the south end of Mount Auburn or something, I think. But again, there's so many different TV stations around Cincinnati that I just couldn't tell you where it was. So that was the first one. That was the main time it was in television. And the second time, I kind of made it in B-roll. So this was about 3 years later or so, in about 2014. I'm not sure if I said this as a kid, but I did a lot of triathlons as a kid. Ever since I was like 7 years old or so. For those who don't know, a triathlon is swim, bike, and run. There is many different lengths, and we were doing kids ones, so they were pretty short. The longest I've ever did was a sprint triathlon. Now the distances were like way shorter. It was like 100-meter swim, 5 to 6 mile bike ride. I think this one wasn't even a mile run for this triathlon. So we were doing this kids one, and it was really short, really. And we were already experienced at this point, and I remember my parents telling us, hey, you need to run the whole thing. So we did. Or my siblings claimed that they did. Because later that day, we went to our grandparents' house, and then we saw us on the local news as just B-roll footage. We weren't talking or anything. First, there was 2 kids pass by, and then a third one passes by, and then we slowed down the footage a little bit, and it was actually me on my white racing bicycle I had from my dad who worked at the ski shop. But it was like a summer and winter shop. Like the one where he worked before in Texas had a lot of bicycles and stuff. So he managed to get a good deal on bicycles as well. And I managed to get a good racing bike. I had for quite a while before I just outgrew it and we got rid of it. But I zoomed by and I'm like, wow, that's actually me on the footage. And then we continue watching a little bit, and then we see some kid basically walk and then start running again, but we rewound it and it looked identical to the back of my sibling. And then we all looked at him and go, so you ran the whole time, didn't you? We have you on camera walking this really short run. We kind of my parents kind of scolded them, but we were just more impressed that actually even happened. It was more of just laughing more than this actual scolding or anything. They were just impressed that they actually got caught on camera. It was just some wild coincidence. So yeah, that's a nice little short story about the times I showed up on television. I have no footage of this. I don't even know where to even find it. I do not know what channels they were on, or even if they even have a copy of it, or if they even uploaded a copy. Because keep in mind, this was the early 2010s. Some things were still being copied and transferred over, but a lot of local news really wasn't. I mean, nowadays it's much more prevalent, but back then it wasn't as common. It's probably still on the internet, and I just have to find it, but I just have no idea where to even look for it. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, I do thank you for listening, and I wanted to tell a little happier story for once for these random things, because the first 3 had just been kind of negative. But regardless, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this. See ya.